Welcome to Fairly Longwinded, the podcast where we talk a lot because there's a lot to talk about. How you doing?
I am good. How are you? I am doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing good, but it's almost like that. It's non-verbal at this point. It's just sounds.
Yeah, right. I feel that. Just a note for listening audience. We are recording this on Tuesday, October 28th.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time that they'll hear it, it'll actually be on Election Day.
Yep, it'll be on Election Day. We'll be coming to you almost live on Election Day.
Right. Almost live on Election Day. So looking forward to this discussion. Got a lot on the menu and on the list to talk about. So let's kick it off. We are 28 days into the government shutdown.
We're just under 30 days into the government shutdown, and as far as we can tell, there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
It's a weird place to be in because there's a lot that the one side is fighting for that the other side is refusing to do, and even in the midst of the traumatic experiences that people are going through right now, losing healthcare would cause even more trauma. So a lot of people are hoping that the side that's fighting for the American people will continue to fight, even if that means having to go through what's currently potentially about to happen on November 1st. So if we are early, so at the time of this recording, November 1st, and SNAP benefits are looking like they will not be filled. Things may have changed by the time you hear this, but that is where we are right now.
Yeah, not just the SNAP benefits for November 1st. November 1st is also the day that I believe the subsidies for Affordable Care Act expire. And so people will begin to see those increases in their monthly premiums if they are on the Affordable Care Act. And so just a lot of things that are coming down the pike. This isn't the first government shutdown, but it is the first in recent history where the threat of people going without food, roughly 42 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits. So this will be the first time in recent history where this is on the line. In the past, the government has funded this program because it's an emergency program, just like WIC.
Yep.
But there's just a lot that is on the line come this weekend. So we'll see what happens, but all things point to this weekend people going without, and it's around the holidays. It's getting cold outside, even where I am in Alabama, and so some people will be hit with a double-edged sword. Not in addition to this years long assault and cut on just basic services that people have. So
it just, this is if it keeps going, this will be the longest shutdown in American history. Most shutdowns that have been in recorded history have been under a specific party, and this, as you said, this particular shutdown just feels more egregious. It feels more intentionally harmful to be able to hurt specific people in the best ways that it can. And because of the person that is leading these things having so many perceived enemies, including what it seems like the American people, it's been really interesting to see how people have responded to this. Even in the very beginning of it, I remember seeing so many people go, yeah, shut it down. We tired. But shut it down because we're tired of the lies. We're tired of the Mr. X. We're tired of people just attempting to usurp the conversation or to cut it off. No, we're not talking about this. We're talking about this. No, we can't do anything in the country because these one set of people refuse to do anything in the country. It's like, no, y'all have the White House, you have Congress, you have the Supreme Court, you have a good amount of everything. This is very much, as you know, as y'all get to know us, you'll get to know our personalities and all these things. I'm a woo girl. I'm into my tarot, my crystals, all those things. I do read tarot for myself. This is very much an Eight of Swords type of energy. This is very much a self-sabotage. Oh no, want somebody to help me, want somebody to think of me. Girl, the swords are behind you. The binds are loose. And the blindfold is halfway off your face. So if you wanted to help yourself, if you wanted to walk out of this cage, bird, you could actually do it, but you're choosing not to because it benefits you to be a victim. And the ways in which you're being victims in this moment are the same ways that you're attempting to make the American people feel. And the American people are like, majority of us are like, no, that's not.
Right.
Somebody do this directly to us. It's different if it's intentional, the same way that people are claiming that there's a mom on here that said that she's making $11,000 a month in food stamps. One, that lady is a rage baiter.
Yeah, nobody's got 11,000 a month in food stamps.
Don't nobody know 11,000 a month, and even for 6 kids, you're not getting 11,000 a month.
Right.
And even in the content that she has put out, if you pay attention, if you like, and this is what we're talking about, losing recipes and people not being able to do critical thinking. If you're able to differentiate between someone being sardonic, sarcastic, all beyond satire, this is somebody legit just pulling your leg. When this woman talks, she throws in the little Easter eggs. It's like, how am I supposed to feed my kids? How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to get my nails done?
Right.
And instead of you hearing, okay, hold on, that part don't sound right. Let me go back. Let me keep listening.
Yeah.
Instead, you're like, so my tax dollars are going towards nails? No.
Right.
No, they're not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. And y'all are so intent on attempting to have other people hurt the same way that y'all are yelling on social media about, oh, your EBT's being cut off. Oh, I'm sorry for you. I got snapped. It's they're the same thing. So the individualistic way of going about things, and girl with the toast asking people what they did with last month's benefits, like it is really coming down to people showing who they truly are. And when the FAFO happens, they don't have anybody that they can go to be like, how come nobody said anything? Like, girl, this is literally what you voted for.
Yeah, it is. And when we think of like this mindset of the people think that for some reason welfare recipients are sitting on their behinds, and so much of our money goes to feed these people who are just living off the system, and they're living high on the hog. And even, and not to go off on a tangent, but when people say, you only need to buy these foods, don't buy that food, don't buy that food. I started to think about, how this proverbial welfare queen came to be, and it came to be, the proverbial welfare queen came to be during the Reagan administration, where they painted this person as, a Black woman in the inner city who's, a single mother, and she's, sucking up all these benefits. And I was watching a documentary, I believe it was from the 70s, maybe. I watched it the other day. It's on YouTube, and I'll have to send it to you. But they talked about like the how welfare was run back in the 70s, back in Cleveland, and some of these parallels are, they're, past it is prologue, and these things are still, relevant today, but I think there is this picture that people think in their mind of who the welfare recipients are, and they are sadly mistaken. Yeah. And, we don't have to shine a light on that. But I think that, I do hope that, food assistance benefits are extended, and people can feed their children But the data does not show what people think it shows. There
No.
are, and when you're thinking about not extending benefits, you are starving children. And
Mm-hmm.
so in a country as wealthy and rich as the United States we should not have food deserts. We should not have kids that are
Right.
hungry. We should not have those types of things. But there are kids right now, I know where I live in Montgomery, who every weekend they get a bag of food, of non-perishable items to last
Mm-hmm.
them throughout the weekend, because the only meal that they get is the school lunch or the school breakfast, so forth and so on, because there is not
Right.
enough of food. You have more month than you have money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so this is a very serious issue. And so, while the community can step in, and we have mutual aid,
Right.
or organizations all throughout the country, I think this is just like a reflection point. And it's
Yeah.
not, when I think about it, it's not one party over the other. Is both, but there is a effort of one party to want to try to strong arm this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's rough, and it's sad. And I think, like I said, if there's something, if something's not, if a crossroads is not come to by this week, what's today, Tuesday, so 4 more days, this weekend is gonna be rough, and we're up against the holidays
Yeah.
as well. And so it's sad. I've been a single mother
Mm-hmm.
before, and myself have had to try to decide if I'm going to eat lunch at work or eat dinner.
Yep.
And so I know what it's like, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, and this right here is just an extra stressor that people have to go through that they did not ask for.
That they
Um,
did not ask for.
and
And
so it's
yeah,
just it's terrible.
it is. And like you were saying with community, black people have always black people are socialists by default.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as people like to run away from socialism and communism, like
Yeah.
these weird random feelings toward it, as much of a history nerd that I am, I listened to a podcast specifically about the McCarthyism and all those things, and how one dude who just wanted some attention. Literally, that's all John McCarthy wanted. He just wanted somebody to pay attention to him. So he's like, how can I get people to pay attention to me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to essentially bring on the Red Scare. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm
Right.
And it's he went outside, but it's what he deserved. So if you don't notice, one of us is a little bit more spicier on the show.
One of us
but,
is a little bit more reserved.
yeah, no, but depending on the topic, it can switch. And so,
Right.
you never know. You never know who's going to be coming with the heavy hitters. But with McCarthyism and the fear of the other, essentially, black people by default are already socialists because we know what it feels like, and we know the experience of having to share amongst each other, and it goes beyond slavery in this country. This is just what we do as a people. And even in the continent and the countries that we can sometimes trace back to, we see those ways in which other communities and the communities within communities are supporting one another. We're not going to allow this person to go without because these circumstances happened to them.
Right.
And we already by default are like that. We are very much of the minds of bartering. We are, okay, girl, pay me this, and then once you got it, give me the rest. Like you know that we're not, at least most of us are not in a state where we're going to take everything from somebody. In every community, in every culture, in every segment of people, there are going to be those that are the absolute worst. But for the majority of us, we're going to make sure that we are okay. And that plays into what's happening currently with it, not only the shutdown, but also with the potential loss of SNAP. And so there's already been Black women that are sharing resources. We ourselves have shared resources to hopefully get people back on track, or at least mend this for as long as we can. Hey, call these people. Hey, get on this. Don't wait until the very last minute. Don't let these people tell you no. And also, hey, share the food. Well, not necessarily share the food stamp card, but if you need to share the food stamp card, if you you still got something left. But also, share the Costco card, share the BJ's card, share the Sam's Club card, bring multiple people with you on that trip, and y'all can divvy up who gonna pay for what. Like those sort of things that's community. And I think a lot of people are learning what their community means for them now. We lost a lot of community during COVID. A lot of people were not able to recover from COVID and are now trying to figure out, what does that look like in person versus what that looked like digitally or online or which virtually, however they, because I have group chats that I got all three of us are in different states. So we see each other certain times of the year. But I also have people that are directly in my area that I can reach out to as well. So I think also it's okay to ask for help, and it is okay to offer help. You're going to potentially run into that person that's too afraid to ask. You're also going to run into that person that's too afraid to give. And it's okay to open up space for both of them. If you need to let somebody know, like, hey, no, thank you, that's totally fine. But allowing people the space to go, oh, I do need this. And there's no strings attached. There's no expectation that you won't join whatever it is that they're offering. It's
that too.
You need this because you need this. And because we've seen more military families, furloughed government workers, because we've seen people that aren't normally in those food lines. It's now become more evident that we as a people, not just solely us as Black people, but we as a people that are not in the echelon of because we're not up there in that upper echelon of billionaires, millionaires, all those sort of things that we cannot access that help, or we cannot work together, or we cannot be supportive of one another. We are literally watching people take food out of babies' mouths and be cool with it, be totally fine with it because it's going to go towards the crown molding. Like that's where we are right now. And so, and it's also funny because a lot of people are playing with semantics. A lot of people are saying, well, people aren't starving if you're as online as I am. There are some instances about certain, right-leaning, but also skin folk that are very much of the mind that you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and there aren't any American people that are in the street starving and all these things.
Oh yeah, they are.
I would love to know. Even though he sucks, I would love to hear his commentary now and be like, okay, so these things are about to happen. So that whole thing you said about starving and it not being a thing because their bellies aren't distended. You gonna accept it now that it had to happen this way. And unfortunately, we got people that we got to contend with that are like that. But as for the rest of us, we can absolutely come together. And if this is your first time forming community in that way, this will give you a means of connection that you maybe didn't expect or anticipate before.
Yeah, I think some people are so far out of the loop and they pretend to be in the loop. And there are people that could be coming to work with them every single day and struggle when they get home. So just because someone is not on the corner of the highway holding a sign, or their belly is not distended, or whatever the case may be, does not mean that they are not experiencing a hardship. Everybody does not have to be, begging on the street or what have you may.
And they don't have to prove it to you.
They don't have to prove it to you, right? And there is no, I don't know, meter or barometer or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that shows that. I do think that, people, to your point, will have to rely on community more. I do like how you said, if you know someone who has a Costco card or something like that, or Sam's. I'll put it like this. So relying on community. So if you're able to go to some of the stores that sell in bulk, maybe that's a we buy a bunch of ground beef or whatever, or chicken, and then we Ziploc bag it up and things of that nature. I've also seen, people, and this is an expensive venture. I've never done it, where they go in on a cow, and the cow, there's enough meat to feed, several families for X amount of time. But also what I've seen also, and it's a little too late now, but you can always start it. As people are like, they're doing their gardens,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. But on the same token, I know some people say, yeah, make your garden and this, that, and third. That's easier. That's easy to say. But if you live in an apartment where there's no sunlight coming in, or you're trying to think about your very basic needs, thinking of or trying to put together a garden is really the last thing that you're thinking of. And so sometimes that in and of itself can seem a little, I want to say elitist, but kind of out of the loop when you tell, oh well, yeah, just start a garden. If only it was that easy. You know what I mean? If if it was that easy, I have greens and everything else, and bananas and all the things. It's not that easy. And so people just need to make sure that they're measuring they need to check their elitism. When they
check your privilege, and especially even if it's that. What if you got a black thumb? Then what?
Right. Just buy some seeds. Okay.
But I don't know what to do with the seeds.
You know what I'm saying? Just buy. That's all you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? It's not if it was that easy, everybody would do it. We'd be all farmers. And so, but that, like I said, but to your point, just relying on community, and we just hope that between now and the next 72 hours or so, that this kind of turns around in some way, because people are relying upon those benefits.
And I really do love the calls to action that are being put into place, with people going, okay, if this is what you're going to do, holiday season is over.
I've seen that too.
Yeah, we're not doing Thanksgiving, and we're not doing Christmas. Specifically, we're not doing Christmas because how it has truly shown up in this country over the last coming up on 11 months is the moment we stop paying y'all attention and paying y'all money is when things shift. And I think we did not see how intense that was, how true that was until Target. And then from there, it was, okay, we're not going to give money to, I forgot which, the next one after Target was. It was, okay, we're not going to give money there either. Okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And I think because boycotts that, similar boycotts like that, maybe didn't take off the way that people expected it to, is because people weren't given alternatives. It was just, don't shop here.
Right.
Okay. So if that's the only thing that I have, what else can I do? This time around, it was, okay, don't buy don't buy unnecessary things if you have to shop here. I mean, Matthew, Miss B, we were talking last week, and the subject of Walmart and Target came up. And me and my sister talked about Walmart. Walmart is the devil we know. We knew Walmart ain't about nothing. Like we're aware. We're aware that I can't even think of the name of the family. We're aware, Watson? I forgot. We're aware that family don't care about nobody but themselves. We're fully aware. We understand and know exactly what's going into Walmart. The people that surprise us or pretend to care about us is the ones that we're like, oh, okay. And Target happened to be one of those. And the ways in which Target has attempted to kind of shuck and jive to get us back and a good chunk of us still haven't. I haven't gone back since January. Target used to be my little joint, my little joint. I just walk around.
Yeah.
I don't do Starbucks. I didn't do Starbucks before we even boycotted Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going there and be like, okay, I'm just peruse. It's a Saturday morning. I ain't got no direct plans, so I'm just
exactly.
walk around Target, and I have not been back since January. And there are times I'll drive past the Target like you, mother. But standing in solidarity as much as possible has been, and then seeing the fruit of it has been really phenomenal. So seeing other people come together and talk about how, okay, here's how we're going to do this. If you're going to take from us, here's how we're going to take from you. And I love how more and more people are beginning to break down, if we leave this country, if we stop paying taxes, if we stop showing up and giving 110%, they literally, this entire infrastructure would fall to pieces because of how needed we are. We saw what happened in COVID with the essential workers being needed, being treated worse while also being needed, putting their lives on the line for this virus that we still don't know how or why it's doing. It's replicating the way that it is, and it's showing up in people differently. And like, we don't know, but those people were so much so that, oh, we're gonna clap at 7:00, like we're gonna we're doing. And now that the American people as a whole, for the most part, are the essential workers. And what if there was a time it was like, okay, cool, so y'all are waiting on us, because I saw a really cool TikTok about that too. This holiday season, technically from September, I used to work in retail as well. Technically from September to December, January, for y'all, that is your version of us waiting on our taxes to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all wait all year for this particular time for all these people to come in and buy things they don't need, or to come in and replace stuff that is a necessity, or a brand new thing, or something like any folding of that. And so people were like, you know what? We're not doing that this year.
Yeah.
And I think there would have been some sort of boycott specifically around the holidays anyway, even if the SNAP issue would not have happened. But the SNAP issue absolutely lit a fire.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Was the gasoline on the already burning fire. And so it was, I really do think people going, okay, I'm literally going to save my money. Like, there were people saying, like, tell your kids, hey, we not doing it this year. And actually sit down and have a conversation with them. And here's why. This ain't got nothing to do with you. This ain't because Santa's telling you that you are a bad kid. You're getting cold. We ain't even getting cold this year. We're just not doing it this year. And here's what we're going to do instead. And I think that is where more and more people are beginning to see the power of collective action. And again, there being stipulations put into place. Okay, you are not someone who can directly just drop from your job. How about you go in there the way that you usually pick up slack for this person, and you do this for this person, and you work through your lunch break, and you do all. You don't do that no more.
Yep.
You give them people exactly what they give you. 8 hours. Okay, cool.
Right. That's it.
Oh, can you do? Nope. I sure can't. Can't. And and I love how there are different breakdowns, and it's because there were the people that, there were people that just complain just to complain, but I can't do that. And why come out? But then you also have people that were like, I work in this industry, I cannot afford to do that. And those people that are putting these boycotts and blackouts together listened. Okay, you can't do that. We're going to do this instead. And that's the difference between the people that are causing these issues and those that are attempting to make sense and make do in the midst of it. We're listening to each other as much as possible. We're giving alternative ways to be able to support. We're doing so much more. And that's why everything that they are doing in different ways continues to collapse. It goes for a little bit, out of fear, out of worry, out of like pure, like, I can't believe this is doing this. But then after a while, it's like, oh, this is nothing. Like he's just going to talk. He's saying stuff. He's just saying and talking. And so it eventually came to a point where it was like, all right, bro, we're going to go over here and do this instead. We're going to show up in this space. We're going to take things away. Access to our bodies, access to our refund, our resources, our funds, our whichever, and we just gonna look at you. You can't take you as much. You're about to kick off, I believe, 42 million Americans off of healthcare. You can't take all 42 million. You can't take all 42 million out, because some of the people that you're about to take out are those very same people behind those weapons, and they're gonna turn on you,
right?
Because people are hungry, and when people get hungry, they get desperate.
Yeah, I think we talk about this every year that we all love getting gifts and Christmas, and we certainly understand the reason for the season, whatever you choose to celebrate or what have you may. But I do think that this year, if any other year, this year will be the year, like you said, that people will say, you know what, we need to learn the true reason for the season.
Yeah.
It's not about, getting, a whole bunch of gifts and so forth and so on, because to your point, this is the time of year, like they call it Black Friday, so that these stores can, make up for all the year, maybe some short sales here and there, and they discount prices, and even, and not trying to go off on a tangent, but Black Friday doesn't look the way that Black Friday looked when we were growing up, right? You remember when Black Friday, there used to be some deep discounts. Black Friday now is like, 10% here, 20% there, some stuff that I heard throughout the regular year. Right. But I do think that people will take this time to just kind of get back to the basics and enjoying family, enjoying your loved ones. I don't know too many people that really celebrate Thanksgiving in the traditional sense. Right. Like there's not a lot of people that maybe celebrate several holidays in the traditional sense. I know for us, we celebrate, or we gather, for the sake of gathering and loving on our family and so forth. And so we are not celebrating pilgrims and all of that type of stuff like that. And so it'll just be more, I hope, more community, more people getting together, more people loving on each other. And that's even if they decide to, not cut food stamps. It should just be a time that we all get together and love on one another, not just for the fact of maybe food stamps being cut or healthcare being cut, but just in light of kind of what we have been through and what is going on in these last 10 months or so. So, it's tough. It's tough, it just remains to be seen kind of what happens this Saturday, when people are supposed to be cut off of, SNAP benefits, and then healthcare premiums are raising. I know I mentioned it last week. There was a young lady that said she was paying $250 every 2 weeks for health coverage. And then now it's going to be roughly, $700 every 2 weeks. So that's from $500 to $1,400. If someone is not making that, even if you are, to jump up from $500 from $500 to $1,400, I don't care what you make. Okay, to jump up almost $1,000 is hey, and so, we hope that that we can bring it to a crossroads or some type of agreement or something.
Yeah.
So that people can get what they need to sustain.
Yeah. And that's all people are asking for. People are asking for what they need and not taking away. Well, tax erasure anyway.
Yeah, people don't want to be caught up in this, but it's kind of like, when if people are in a relationship and they have kids involved, and the kids are in the middle, they're in like this tug of war. I'm being pulled this way, being pulled that way or whatever. And the person that ends up being hurt the most is the person that's in the middle, who has nothing to do with any of it. So
Right. Because like mom and dad got a divorce, and now I got to figure out which house I'm gonna go to over
Yeah.
Christmas. And y'all are attempting to say you need to come over here because I have this. Well, you need to come over here because I have this. Meanwhile, my arms hurt because y'all have been
Right.
pulling me
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
way and turning me every which way but loose. But y'all not listening to the fact that I don't want to go with neither one of y'all.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go to grandma's house. Like
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
y'all getting on my nerves, and I don't particularly like either one of you right now. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
but even as we talk about that, and I know that this episode is coming out on election day. If you are listening to us early, I believe most polls open at 7 8.
Yep.
So if you're listening to us when we first initially drop at midnight, first off, oh my God, fan, thank you so much.
Right.
But polls open at 7. Make sure that you have everything you need. You have checked your registration. If it is required for you to have certain type of paperwork, check that now to find out. Even if you're on the way there, you walking out the house, you like phone, wallet, keys. Let me make sure I got all the other things that I need. And if possible, I know today, is election day, but if possible, you have the opportunity to bring other people with you or
Mm.
take other people to their locations because they're like, I don't have transportation, or my absentee ballot never came, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to vote, or that person is disabled and they do not have access to transportation that is able to get them there and back safely. If you are able to do that, that's another means of showing up for communities.
Yeah. Yep. 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 And it's important, that we do that. A lot of states, I hope that you all have taken advantage of the early voting
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that are within several states. I know up on that's the big election. All of them are big elections,
Yeah.
but some of the ones of note of, the ones in the states where we are part of
Mm-hmm.
our state strategy, the New Jersey gubernatorial, as well as the Virginia gubernatorial, the Detroit mayoral, the New York City mayoral,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Georgia Public Service Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not, one of our states is not Ohio, but I'm from Cleveland. There is a mayoral election there as well on election day. Atlanta also has their mayoral and city council races as well. And to Joy's point, most polls do open at 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in line by the time 7 p.m. closes, by the time 7 p.m., if you're in line by 7 p.m., then you can still vote. So they cannot tell you cannot vote if you're in line at 7 p.m.
Yes.
To vote, every vote counts. We are roughly a year out or from the November 2024 election.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot has happened since then, such as like the No Kings protest that happened, 2 weeks ago or a week or so ago?
I think it was October 18th, and then I believe the first one was back in June.
Yeah. So we had 2 No Kings protests. The second one was larger than the first. People
Mm-hmm.
come out and air their grievances for government, our First Amendment right, where
Yep.
that is concerned. And so I expect those to continue to grow. They are a good avenue to mobilize voters to make sure they're coming out to the polls and mobilize them around issues. But I
Yes.
do know with these No Kings protests that they go beyond just the protests. I believe, and again, I'm saying this having not researched or not have dug deep into their organization process or what have you may.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hope that there is a grassroots component to this. I do know that, you think about 7 million people showing up to march, that's great. These people probably know that you need to vote for school board, mayor, city council, so forth and so on. But we do need to make sure that we are mobilizing those voters who do not always show up. So again, I'm not involved in the planning process, but I do hope that there is a grassroots effort because so many voters did not vote last year, and because so many voters will not vote this year, and so those people need to be reached as well. I call them, or we call them in this field, low propensity voters.
Right.
I'm not going to dig too deep into data, but our A+ voters know to vote. The low propensity voters, they can, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
And not because there's not something in this election process for everybody. I just think they have not been engaged so that they can know that there's something in it for everybody. And a perfect example is, what we may be up against this weekend with the cuts to SNAP and things. That there's something in it for everybody. And your election, the votes impact every part of our lives. So,
right.
That's kind of where.
Yeah. What's interesting is I believe the person who is currently, I believe, in the lead and is favored to win in New York, mayoral race. I watched a video earlier today when they were interviewing him, I believe, for More Perfect Union. And they were asking him about specifically the Democratic Party and how their messaging and how they are not reaching most people that want to support them, but they don't feel seen. They aren't seen, they aren't heard. And one of his messages was, we have to go beyond talking at people and attempting to make them feel like, oh no, well, this is what's best for you, versus you tell me what's happening in your community and we will figure out together how to make this better for everyone involved. And a lot of people on that side, like we talked about last week, there should be term limits. There are a lot of people who just in their seats for the sake of being in their seats. They are legacy at this point, so they don't feel the need that they need to move. But a new guard needs and is attempting to show up and rise up, and it has succeeded in showing up and rising up. And we're at a stage now where it is imperative to listen to those very same people that you just knew were a shoo-in and hear them for what they're saying, not just what you want them to say. And if they tell you to your face that you are not doing what we need you to do, you need to kind of eat that and figure out how you can do better going forward, instead of saying, well, I'm establishment, I've done this, this, and this. You should have seen me in the 80s, girl. I wasn't born. I wasn't here. And so you did that for my mom and them, but how are you showing up for me? Because here's what I'm facing right now. One of the biggest conversations me and my mom had, my mom has since passed away, was we got in a huge argument about unions. And she worked at Philip Morris here in Virginia, Richmond specifically. So she used to like to say that she was the first one that on the line when they opened the doors of Philip Morris. Like when they were passing out jobs, she was there. And at the time, I was unemployed. I was freelancing in a lot of places, but I was trying to, make things meet, and I was underemployed in other ways. And my mom was of the boomer generation. I am a millennial. So why don't you join the union? What union? What do you mean? What union? Well, when I was at Philip Morris, we had a union. They took care of us. And it was like, you can't say the word union in some of these places without being called in HR. So she's like, that's not true. Yeah, it is. That's my experience. That's what is happening now. I kept trying to explain to her the ways in which you experience the union are not the same. You was there and being able to see the Teamsters and all these sorts of things. You were actively supported by them. It's not like that anymore. There's been so many things that have been put into place blocking people from being able to be supported and protected by unions, and unions not even being in the buildings anymore. They are outside entities. And me and her went back and forth on that. She refused to believe that that is what was happening. And that is where a lot of these politicians are also. That's not what's happening, because in my day, they were doing this. Did you close your eyes for the last 40 years? Because this is what has happened since then. And no, like, people are being fired for saying the word union. There are multiple corporations, Amazon, Starbucks, all these different places that are doing everything that they can to dismantle the even talking about unions. But they're necessary, and they know they're necessary, and that's why they're making people work 10 hours a day with no bathroom breaks. That's how they're able to get away with that, because there's no protection. So in that same way of you attempting to tell people that no, that's not what's happening, because that didn't happen to me, it don't need to necessarily happen directly to you for it to be real.
Right.
For it to affect all of a many facets of people, it still is happening.
Right.
And as we head into this election and today, and then we also are heading into midterms in 2026, we need to be able to say that to people, yo, we're not there anymore. The same way people are like, why do so many kids have autism? Autism was always here.
Yeah.
We just have better ways to be able to test for these things earlier and more effectively, especially in Black and kids of color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not autism just showed up one day, and now everybody got it. Just like, why all these kids got peanut allergies? Because y'all are able to test these things before.
Peanut allergies.
Yeah, like you're mad at you want things to go farther. You want technology to do the things you wanted to do, so you give us AI. But then in the other ways in which technology could work out, it's like, well, that's not real. Okay, so
yeah,
it plays into that, and it makes, again, you're not listening to the people that are directly experiencing these things, because you're basing it off of what you experienced at a time when this wasn't even possible, when these things didn't even exist. And now that they exist, you need to be able to look at them for what they are, and not what you thought they would be, or what you hoped they would be, or how it pertains to you directly. If you're going to connect with your constituents, or you're going to connect with a populace of people that don't want to go over that side, because we've actively seen what happens on that side. We're trying to give you a chance, but you over here like, yeah, I don't know how to use the AI. It's like, this is why we need you to go ahead. Like you said last week, I ain't gonna tell nobody when to go to the house. I will. And so it might be time for you to go to the house. They got food. You could be in the AC. You be comfortable. You good. We still gonna need you, but sometimes we need you from over there. And I think in that same way, if that particular party does not wise up to that and see that the world continues moving without them, they can get with it or get lost.
Yeah.
And we hope you don't have to get lost, but if you get lost along the way, I mean, hey.
Yeah. And to bring it full circle, like that kind of goes to the point, like you were saying, just because things are not the way they were, 50 years ago or whatever, that does not make them not true. And that goes to like empathy.
Yes.
I always say, like someone can say, oh, I went to, XYZ restaurant and the food was awful. Or I went to XYZ hair salon and, I didn't like her hair. I didn't like what she did my hair. Oh, well, when I went, I mean, the food was delicious. Well, I'm not talking about you, right? I'm talking about my experience. I'm talking about me, right? I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about if when you went, the pork chops and the collard greens and the macaroni and cheese was good. I'm talking about when I went, they were trash. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to be able to empathize and put ourselves in other people's shoes, and that makes us human. But that also makes us to see the or see people as human, because we know, or we can empathize. No, you may not have ever, went hungry or whatever the case may be, but you can empathize with someone who does not have enough food to feed their their children.
Mm-hmm.
You may have always had health insurance and so forth and so on, but your ability to empathize helps you see, well, you know, what it may be like for someone that's deciding between feeding their kids or paying their light bill and going to get a tooth pulled that may be hurting. It's just is empathy. And I think if we can get to that place, it'll
Mm-hmm.
allow us to have more collective power. We can see, you know, we can see people. We can see, you know, there's a word I'm drawing a blank for. But we can see that in people. So, you know, like I said, and I think you mentioned it, you know, last week, we live like in this individualistic
Yeah.
society where it's all about me, you know. Hey, you know,
Mm-hmm.
every man for themselves, and in some regard it is, you know, it is that way, but we're not in those times. You know, the bus boycott, which is coming up on, I want to say 70 years this year.
This
70
year?
years. 70 years.
Wow.
In Montgomery, you
Yeah.
know, people were not being individualistic at that time. You know, they got together and, you know, for nearly a year, they made sure people made it to work. You know, they made it to the stores, they made it to wherever they needed to go by community coming together. And I think that we're at that point now where community has to come together. We have to call on our fellow neighbor, brother, sister, or whomever, to stand in the gap and just help one another. We are better together. We can go farther together. But we cannot go far if, you know, you got your bag, I might be just all right, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so we're at that point. We're at
We're
that
at
point.
that point.
We've been at that point, but you know, I was writing a article the other day, and I'm like, you know, this is not a drill. This is not a game.
Mm-mm.
You know, this is not a game, and so
Mm-mm.
we're at that point.
We're at that point where, for the people of the crowd that says that they are not their ancestors, we're at that point where, okay, you're not your ancestors. You're now being shown what your ancestors endured. 2.0, 3.0, depending on where you are and where you were. Now is the time for you to show up and say, okay, well, this is what I would have done in those times. If it was me, I would have, okay, tell us what you would have done. So we are now almost a year to the day. Today, it's nearly a year to the day of us experiencing a massive shock and almost a heartbreak of the election results and things that happened last year. And I think us as an org, and us as Black women, like I shared last week, it really felt like a gut punch and a confirmation of, oh, y'all really don't like us. Even when we are showing up as our full and authentic selves and we have the plan, we have the way forward, y'all don't like us. And so we will do everything that we can to keep the status quo, even as the status quo is killing us. So you and I joined the org, I believe, like weeks apart. I joined at the end of June.
Okay.
And I believe when I first joined, there was we were still thinking, I believe, and I think we can talk about this. We can actually say names, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not gonna, you know, we are a nonpartisan. So if you can read between the lines and you notice that we don't say people's names, that's why. So I believe at the time, the original candidate was still in place. And so there was this kind of, okay, we just gonna get this thing going. This is for the greater good. Even if we don't necessarily like or agree with this candidate, but this is for the greater good. And I remember I was driving and the letter came out of him stepping down. And I remember I sent it to the group chat, and the group chat was like, "What?" And I was like, "Here it is. He just put it out," because I do our socials. I believe he initially dropped it on Twitter, so I saw it on Twitter and was, because I'm not calling it X. I saw it on Twitter and read through it initially, and then was like, "Is this what I think it is?" And so that's when I sent it to the team and was like, and so they were like, okay. And it just, for me, it felt like this ground swell of people just kind of looked up around themselves and went, wait, we have a chance now. Okay. Everybody go back to your places. Like it was that type of energy. Get back to your places. We're about to pull the curtain up one more time. And so, but then what made it, I think because it was expected that Madam VP would be the initial shoe-in, but she hadn't said anything yet. But it was almost as if us that do this work, and then Black women specifically, were like, all right, what you gonna give us the go? Like, like it was almost, it was as if people were at that ready. It was that war stance of, you're watching the enemy come towards you, and we're all in one place to be like waiting on that one person to give us the whistle. Like, and that's right, exactly. And that's, to me, that's what it felt like. So I would love to know what it felt like for you in the very beginnings of that experience, and then also coming into the org around that same time.
Yeah, so I came in a few days, maybe a week before the DNC. And so I had not had my first meeting yet with everyone, but it was around that time. And so it was really a really good time, and everyone was really energized and ready to hit the ground running. And it was just really, really good. I think that Madam VP is just a energetic person. She's an energetic woman, and that's not saying that I'm saying it as a partisan statement. It is what it is. She's just an energetic woman. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read her book. I've been listening to it on Audible. Nice. It's really good. It's 107 days, how she unpacks things from day one. It was just like really just a really good time. And as we know, 92% of Black women voted for VP Harris. And then in this year, it's amazing how time just flies by. It does not feel like a year, but it just shows, like, you know, time doesn't wait for anybody. Time is of the essence, and you got to make the best of the time that you have here. But yeah, I mean, you know, things became kind of evident then. But for me, I mean, I noticed, I knew what we were up against even in 2016. And so things were contentious, you know, then, and how rough things then. At that time, I was working at a polling firm and did a lot of work on Secretary Clinton's polling and data and things of that nature. And it felt like a gut punch then, and it felt like a gut punch in 2024. But again, like, you learn from those things, and you do the best that you can to kind of move on and not kind of relitigate, but you also know what you need to do next time. And that next time for us is not only coming up today, at the time when people hear election day, because there are some really contentious races, you know, that can shape our future, or people in different states. I know last night we had a good conversation about the judges races that are taking place in Pennsylvania, where, you know, the courts determine the reproductive freedom or rights or whatever, education, economic. It's a whole gamut of things that I think we take for granted, but we just have to find a way to get it right. We're going into the midterms. A year from now, we'll be talking about, you know, the midterms and kind of who's in, who's not, what the messaging looks like, what the outreach looks like. And I just think people have to do things different. And the way that people may have campaigned or may have done things or spoken to voters in 2024 and 2016, 2020, whatever year it was, you got to find another way to communicate so that people get out to the polls and, you know, vote for policies that will impact them positively. I do know that things like economics and, you know, there's nothing like, you know, like a urgent thing to drive people to the polls. If the election were held today, you know, we see probably astronomical numbers of people turning out.
Yeah.
We live in a
society.
In a society of a 10-day news cycle and things of that nature. And we'll just go on to the next news story, the next tragedy or whatever it may be. And I hope that people do not forget this day and they don't forget these times next year. And like I said, whatever side of the aisle that you sit on, whatever you believe, I hope that people are honest with themselves as to where their life is, and they don't forget and stay home or not vote or try to discourage people not to vote or what have you. Man, I just hope that we don't forget where we are in this time. I know that, for example, in 2020, I think that people, or 2019, we vote 2019, 2019, whenever the election was, 2020. 2020.
Time is a concept.
Right. You know, we were going through a lot as far as, you know, the pandemic, and I think people voted with their hearts and in their mind at that time. I just hope people don't forget next year where we are today. And not only where you are today, where we are, where is your neighbor? Where is your church member? You know, where is, you know, the old lady down the street or the family down? Where are they right now? Because again, like we said before, it's not just all this individualistic type of thing. You have to have empathy. And the word I was thinking of is human. You have to remember the humanity of people. I was thinking about, what is the word? Humanity. And so you have to think about all those things and don't forget where we are today. Don't forget that next year.
Fairly Longwinded is brought to you by 1K Women Strong Inc. and co-hosted by Tania Johns and Joy Donaldson. Music is by independent artists found on Pixabay, whose information will be in the show notes. Visit us online at 1kwomenstrong.com and on all of our socials at 1K Women Strong. And until next time, we are where Black women are.